And what is going on, everybody? So welcome back to another brand new video here on the channel. So today I'm giving you guys my early NFL power rankings going into the 2023 season. Now, before we get started in today's video, if you guys are new to the channel, make sure to hit that like button. Also, definitely hit that subscribe button. Make sure to ring that notification bell so you guys will not miss new videos or live streams. That being said, let's jump right into the video. What's going on, everybody? So obviously with the NFL coming in around a few months away, thought this would be a perfect opportunity to go over my early NFL power rankings for all 32 NFL teams. Let's just not waste time. So obviously at number 32, I have the Arizona Cardinals, and there's kind of a few reasons why I think the Cardinals are going to be probably one of the worst teams in NFL football and right now for coming up to the season. Number one, yeah, you're going to be stuck with Colt McCoy for most of the year, and you know, it's not really inspiring confidence much if you're a Cardinals fan. Knowing the fact, yeah, you're not going to have Kyler Murray for about maybe half the season, maybe not even the season at all. You got a first-year head coach in Jonathan Gannon, who is a big question mark in his own right. You cut DeAndre Hopkins. You potentially maybe moving on from Buda Baker. So there's a lot of things going wrong, I would say, for the Arizona Cardinals. So that's why I have them at number 32. Number 31. I got the Chicago Bears. Now, before any Bears fans coming at me, because why I have them low at 31 is the fact that it's the offensive line. You know, yes, you took a couple offensive linemen in the draft, like, you know, a guy like Darnell Wright and some other, you know, mid-round picks. But it's not enough to the fact that, yeah, I think Justin Fields is going to take a bit of a step forward in his improvement. But I just don't think the offensive line is going to be good. But I hope you guys will prove me wrong. But for me, it's just the offensive line is what's concerning. And some of your key pieces, guys like Chase Claypool's got to stay healthy. Darnell Mooney's got to stay healthy. Even though, you know, and most, you know, that some of the defensive end of the football, you know, Eddie Jackson's got to stay healthy. So that's why I have the Bears at number 31. Number 30, I got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and obviously this is obvious for an obvious reason. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, despite playing in a weak division, they're not going to be good. You know, the fact that, yeah, they still got Vita Vea on the defensive end of the football. Quarterback-wise, yeah, that's not really inspiring confidence because either be Kyle Trask or Baker Mayfield, because obviously when Tom Brady retired after 23 seasons, yeah, it's not really looking good for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because it's going to be a long, bumpy road. The fact that, yeah, like I mentioned before, they're playing in a weak NFC South. So that's why I have the Buccaneers at number 30. Number 29, I got the Green Bay Packers. Now, the reason why I have the Green Bay Packers a little bit low is the fact that, yeah, this is a big prove-it year, or I would say big test for Jordan Love. Yeah, you lost a lot of some pieces. You still kept some solid defensive players as well. But like I said, you lost Allen Lazard and some of your other receivers. You still got Dylan. You know, it's really not really much helping for the Green Bay Packers. Obviously, this is now starting in the Jordan Love era. It may look bleak if you're a Packers fan. Number 28, I got the Carolina Panthers. I'm not going to say I'm going to have them this low because right now they're kind of an unknown, especially the fact that it may be Bryce Young leading this team. I mean, you still got Brian Burns off the edge. It's going to be interesting to see what the wide receiver core is going to be looking like since you got to give up a king's ransom to get the number 1 overall pick to get your guy. Like I said, right now overall, I have the Panthers at 28 because right now it's been unknown for me in terms of what the Panthers have going into 2023. Number 27, it's definitely Tennessee Titans. Let's keep it a buck here. The Tennessee Titans for been like, yeah, obviously, you know, the consistent, you know, winner at the AFC South, and yes, not the great division you want to win. But going into, especially if you look at last year, it has not been great. You already fired your GM mid-season after losing 7 straight and completely collapsed the division to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Yeah, it's not going to look good. And this could potentially this year, if they don't, you know, have any success, I can see, you know, Mike Vrabel getting fired. So that's why I have the Tennessee Titans at number 27. Number 26 is the Las Vegas Raiders. You know, short, sweet, to the point. There's no expectations with the Raiders after the last, well, actually, especially after last year, for a team that had some high expectations coming into last year. Bringing in Devontae Adams. Yes, you lost, some pieces. I mean, moving Derek Carr to New Orleans, bringing a guy like Jimmy G who, can't stay healthy to save his life. And the defensive end of the football is just not great in terms of what they have. I mean, look, the talent is there defensively, but it's just, can they put it together and actually put up a good season? Because we've seen they're pretty much seeing their division getting a lot better. So that's why I have the Raiders at 26. Number 25, I got the Colts. Obviously, like I said, kind of been in the same boat as the Carolina Panthers. Obviously, may go with a rookie quarterback, maybe not. That remains to be seen. But if they do decide to go Anthony Richardson, it's going to be, well, if you're a Colts fan, it's going to be a little bit rough to watch. Obviously, yes, you obviously lost some two key pieces. I think on that defense because of gambling and stuff like that. So that remains, and we got to see what the Colts are going to look like going forward, coming into 2023. Now, the next one is going to be maybe might ruffle some feathers. That number 24, I have the Houston Texans. Now, so here's my explanation for why I have the Texans at 24. Obviously, the Texans, on paper are a top 25 team on paper if they execute it properly. Get CJ Stroud number 2 overall. Let's be real, pulling the trigger and get Will Anderson Jr. at number 3 and the same, at the same time. Obviously, you still got some nice defensive pieces. And Derek Stingley Jr., Jalen Petrie, just to name a few, and hopefully Kenny Green will take a step forward for Andre D'Amico Ryans, who I think overall, I think it's gonna have a really nice improvement season with the Houston Texans. But number 23, I got the LA Rams. Now, yes, the Rams, I don't think they're going to be as good as people are going to try to get back to be. I still think they're going to be improved to an extent. The fact that, how much longer do you have with Matt Stafford and potentially you would say his potential successor could be Stetson Bennett. Obviously, your 4th round pick out of Georgia. Like I said, it remains to be seen what the Rams are going to do. And I'm going to leave it at that. I mean, obviously, you had to cut some pieces like guys like Allen Robinson, and obviously Jalen Ramsey pretty much had the salary dump most of the time. So that's why I had the Rams at 23. Don't be expecting them to be as terrible, but don't be expecting them to be as good. So I would say expect them to be like a middle of the pack team in the NFC West. Number 22. Like I said, this is another one that might ruffle some feathers. I got the Cleveland Browns at number 22. And yes, the Cleveland Browns, I would say they have some expectations coming into this year with Deshaun Watson, may not be obviously the most hated guy in the NFL. And we still got Myles Garrett. You still got David Njoku, who's a nice solid tight end. Obviously, because some good running backs too, and Nick Chubb, and obviously your best running back in Nick Chubb. But I really do think this Cleveland Browns team, I would say, will try to compete in a really tough, I would say not tough, but I say a very competitive AFC North with the likes of Baltimore, Pittsburgh, who's a dark horse, could potentially win that division, and definitely Cincinnati. So, Cleveland's got a lot of work ahead of them going into this year if they want to at least try to meet up with the expectations. Number 21, I got the Washington Commanders for a few reasons. One of them is their defense. They're always had a really solid defense, even without Chase Young, there's been a lot of, talks of, they may be trading Chase Young. Now the downside to the Washington, why I have them at 21 is the quarterback problem. Ever since, they moved on from Kirk Cousins, they really haven't really got the quarterback situation right. It's just, it is what it is. Number 20, I got the Atlanta Falcons. Now, the Atlanta Falcons really made some interesting moves this offseason. But if they put it all together on paper, I definitely think this team can win the NFC South because, let's be real, like I said, that is a wide open division. So it's a possibility that either the Falcons, Panthers, or this New Orleans Saints could potentially win that division. Obviously, number 19, I got the New Orleans Saints. New Orleans Saints, Definitely would have obviously bringing in Derek Carr. Obviously you still kept, Jameis Winston is probably hit the backup. Obviously it did a lot of salary dumping to really try to get under the cap. Because obviously you had to restructure guys like Alvin Kamara's contract, Michael Thomas, who has some expectations this year. He's got to stay healthy. Obviously the kind of overpaid for a guy like Taysom Hill, who, to be quite honest, not to play quarterback doesn't really look great with the Saints, but I do think the Saints are going to be, I think you're going to be a little bit tough to beat in the NFC South. Number 18, I got the New England Patriots. I think overall, I do think this team will at least have some succession in the AFC East, knowing the fact that, yeah, you got, finally actually made the right choice and a better offensive coordinator to really help Mac Jones really take a step forward. Because right now, Mac Jones is right now, if you talk about it in terms of the AFC quarterbacks that has a little bit of pressure in that division, Mac Jones is probably your third most pressure quarterback, or third quarterback that have the most pressure on him to at least take a step forward. Because we know where the Patriots just has not really been, in terms of quarterback, not great since Tom Brady, but like I said, it's going to be a little bit hard to shoes to fill from Tom Brady. Number 17, I got the Denver Broncos for about one or two reasons. Obviously, let's see if Russell Wilson can take a jump forward under Sean Payton. Obviously after firing Nathaniel Hackett after one season. Quite honest, this team's got a little bit of expectations going in as well. Picking up a guy like Frank Clark as well. Some other key additions as well going forward and going into 2023. I think this team could be at least 9-8 if you're lucky on a good, right now, under Sean Payton. But we'll see. We'll see how the Denver Broncos perform. Number 16, I got the New York Jets. I want to put this team a little bit higher on this list. Yes, you brought in Aaron Rodgers, you brought in Alan Lazard, you still got, Corey Davis, and guys like that. The only downside for me is like how much more can you get out of a guy like Aaron Rodgers, who's, actually, soon to be pushing 40. You got a guy like Zach Wilson, who, in my honest opinion, not the greatest, you want to have. You had to cut guys, like McCall Hardman, or you brought in some McCall Hardman. So you brought in some pieces. You got guys like Breece Hall coming off an injury, and that's just something that's, it's going to be interesting to watch here going into 2023. Number 15, I got the Jacksonville Jaguars. I always think that this team on paper is always like a top 25 to top 15 type of team. With Trevor Lawrence, who, since coming into this league, had a rough, rocky rookie season. Bit of a slow to start to his sophomore season, but really picked up catch steam under Doug Peterson. Obviously, getting Calvin Ridley back off a suspension, which is going to really help. And we'll see how, see if Trevor Lawrence can take that next step and actually could be at least a top 10 quarterback in this league. Number 14, I got the Detroit Lions. Obviously, probably the most heavy favorite to win the NFC North. Jared Goff, actually really nice season last year, put up some really good numbers, but obviously it looks like they might be sticking him long term, but that remains up to the air. But then again, you lost your key players, like Jameson Williams to suspension, and you lost like a few people to suspension. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Lions are going to overcome that going into this new young NFL season. Number 13, I got the Seattle Seahawks. Now the Seahawks, like I said, I definitely want to put in the top 10 category, but I just don't think they're not a top 10 team in my eyes. The fact that, Geno Smith, I think if I'm going to have to put a hot prediction on this, I don't think he's going to really replicate what he did this last season. And the defense, especially the run defense, has been awful to say the least. It remains to be seen what the Seattle Seahawks are going to look like going into 2023. And, obviously with Nick Jigba, Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf. So a really nice little trio for the wide receiver core. But it's going to be interesting to see what the Seahawks are going to be looking like going forward. Now, Originally number 12, I had the New York Giants, but I'm going to flip flop and actually have the Steelers at number 12. I do think they're going to improve this year as well, especially under Mike Tomlin, who has not really had a losing season since 2003. I think Kenny Pickett's going to take a bit of step forward as as the franchise signal caller. Obviously, you get the guys like you still got Deontay Johnson over there, George Pickens. Obviously, some nice defensive solid pieces you got on the defensive end of the football. So I think the Steelers are going to have a nice improvement season. I think they're probably like a 9-10 win season at best for the Steelers. Number 11, I got the New York Giants. Now the Giants, there's a few reasons why. Obviously made the playoffs last year, won a few playoff games, and just kind of ran out of gas towards the end, which is the only downside of that. But actually made some nice additions this year, not just in free agents, but even the draft. Getting your a franchise center and John Michael Schmitz, another big test for Daniel Jones as a passer. What remains to what's going on with Saquon and his contract situation, so that remains to be seen as well. But right now, I have the Giants at number 11. Number 10, I got the Minnesota Vikings. I do think they're still be a good team, but not to the point where they'll win 13 games. If we're going to have to be completely honest, I do think they're going to win at least 10, 11 games at best. Obviously, look, you still got Kirk Cousins, that like I've talked to, mentioned this a lot of times too. Like, you really can't rely on a guy that he can get you so far of what he can. You still got, you brought in some nice new receivers to help to be a nice complementary support for Justin Jefferson, who's going to looks at him, might be going off for another 1,500-yard type of season. Number 9, I got the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins, is obviously one thing. That is Tua. Can Tua stay healthy for most of the year? Because I think this team is going to be, on paper, if Tua is healthy on paper, this team is going to be a nice team that can potentially win the AFC East. Like not just Tua, but you also have to have receiver Raheem Mostert stay healthy, Jeff Wilson to stay healthy. Tyreek Hill's going to go for another 1,000+ yard season. You brought in Jalen Ramsey to help out secondary. There's a lot to like for the Miami Dolphins, but like I said, Tua's got to stay healthy in order to do so. Number 8 is the Chargers. Now the Chargers, like I said, it's definitely in the same boat as Miami a little bit. They got to stay healthy, and the one thing that Chargers need to stop doing is learn how to choke away, playoff games and actually know how to win a playoff game. But I do think overall on paper, when you look at this team on paper, it's definitely they're a top 10 team in the NFL. Well, because right now you're pretty much kind of really relying on a guy like Justin Herbert, and it's not really. We'll see how that goes for the Chargers. Number 7, I got the Baltimore Ravens. Now, the Baltimore Ravens are in an interesting spot because, you got Lamar Jackson coming off, a knee injury, plus, him holding out for a large contract extension, which, good for him to actually get the back he actually deserves. But it's going to be interesting to see because obviously the one thing that, that always, I would say, scrutinizes the Ravens it's always like, can they win a playoff game? Look, they got a nice solid defense with Kyle Hamilton, the secondary. Let's be real, top 3 tight end, and Mark Andrews. And there's some nice pieces, but can they win a playoff game? That's kind of my big knock. I would say big knock, but the big question mark on the Baltimore Ravens. Number 6, and sorry, Cowboys fans, but I'm going to have to put the Dallas Cowboys at number 6 because they're just not. They're barely just knocked out of the top 5 because look, they're always going to be continuing to be the deepest team in the NFC and just the NFL in general. I'm going to have to admit that as a division rival right now. The reason why I got Cowboys at 6 is because of Dak Prescott. How much longer can you go on a guy that has shown that a lot of times he comes up small when you would say the moment is too bright? Or obviously the spotlight is on him because you got guys like CeeDee Lamb, who is definitely a top 5 receiver. Yeah, Michael Gallup's a nice number 2, number 3, if he can stay healthy. And whoever else they have at wide receiver 1. But we'll have to wait and see what the Cowboys will look for. But like I said, they're still going to be one of the top 3 deepest teams in the NFL. Number 5 is the San Francisco 49ers. Now, I know I do want to put the Niners a little bit higher because of one thing. It's the quarterback problem. Their quarterback's always been hindered by the injury bug. You had Trey Lance, who has shown flashes to be a good quarterback for this team, but unfortunately his season was cut short to an ankle injury. Then you had Brock Purdy come in, Mr. Relevant, actually really played really well, and that kind of really, for some 49ers fans, got them thinking as, could Brock Purdy be the guy long term? Or you got some others like, see if, Trey Lance can be the guy they expect him to be, especially put a huge amount of investment into getting Trey Lance. Number 4, I got the Buffalo Bills. Now, the Buffalo Bills, I know the reason why I have them at 4, not because of Josh Allen, who's been a nice superior quarterback in the AFC. Yes, has a lot of pressure. And right now, I think I would say the top quarterback that had pressure on his shoulders. Not just for overall. You got guys coming off an injury we'll have to wait and see how they look. With Von Miller coming off an ACL, DeMar Hamlin off that, that terrible injury scare that pretty much health scare that we've seen on Monday Night Football against the Bengals. It's can the defense, we'll have to wait and see what the defense is going to be looking like. And the fact that, and the reason why I would like to have them higher is the fact that, they have some interesting moments in the playoffs, but can they really get over the hump and reach the Super Bowl? Because it's every year for the Bills, it's always Super Bowl or bust. Number 3, Cincinnati Bengals. Obviously, the Cincinnati Bengals, they're always going to be a good team in the AFC North. Joe Burrow, definitely top 2 quarterback, top 3. Definitely, I am not going to hold that against. Not going to lie. But the one thing that really sometimes concerns me with the Cincinnati Bengals is the offensive line and Joe Burrow's blind side at times. We have seen times where, if you look back to his rookie season, that offensive line was just atrocious. And even the last few years has not really done Joe Burrow any justice, because let's be the offensive line. Now, I will say the offensive line has played a little bit better as of late, a little bit throughout the playoffs last year, but it's just not enough because Joe Burrow is getting sacked like double-digit times, in a short term, like 2 or 3 years into his NFL career. Correct me if I'm wrong. Number 2, I got the Philadelphia Eagles. Like I said, they're going to be one of those NFC team or NFL teams that are still going to be the deepest. Jalen Hurts, who took a really nice step forward last year. Obviously pulling off with a trade for A.J. Brown, getting guys like Jordan Davis in the draft, now getting Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, and a lot of some mix and match of different pieces. Still kept the core together from that Super Bowl run last year. It's going to be interesting to see what the Eagles going to be looking like. And obviously, number 1, it's definitely the Kansas City Chiefs. There's no explanation for that. It's just Patrick Mahomes, who will make work of anything. There's always the biggest knock on it. It's like, can he make work with guys not named Tyreek Hill? And obviously, he proved he can do that. 2-time champ, 2-time Super Bowl MVP, 2-time MVP. What else can you say about the Kansas City Chiefs? But with that being said, what do you guys think about my power rankings? Where do you want to see some teams flip-flopped? Let me know in the comments down below. And with that being said, this was Robert from the Philly Sports Talk Podcast. I'll see you guys in the next video.